What's up, observers? Welcome in.
Hello.
To episode 58 of Third Party Observers. That's Stan.
That's me.
I'm Austin, and I've got John here to my right.
Yeah.
And today,
What about across the table?
across the table, well, we've got producer Amy.
Oh, of
She's
course.
here as always. Not mic'd up, but she's here. I'm ready to hear any slander we throw out.
Mostly from Stan.
And on the video, we've got friend of the show, Drew Crawley. Drew is a resident of Louisville, Kentucky. He's a sales manager by day and singer-songwriter by night. And he's got a new EP out called Tower Songs that you can listen to on streaming platforms. Most importantly, Drew is the childhood next-door neighbor of our very own Stan Kanata.
So, truth will come
Sorry,
out
Drew.
today.
Yeah, Drew, you've assured us that you've got some dirt on Stan.
Oh,
I'm
most
interested.
definitely.
I'm interested to
Most
see what
definitely.
kind of dirt we've got here.
Yeah. Because, before, when Austin and I met Stan, he was just a young, innocent lad. And we've corrupted him.
Mhm.
For the better, I think.
I think for the better.
Because, if
There are
someone...
some things that are definitely for
Yeah.
the worse.
I mean,
just think about it this way. If someone else was doing it, they would have, maybe taken advantage of your nativity.
of your
Nativity.
nativity.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Words.
You have definitely taken advantage
Yeah.
of my naivety.
Right. But in a fun way, not in a bad way.
For example, we've spoken about it on the podcast before. You're dirty cheaters when it comes to board games.
Don't know what you're talking about.
I don't know what you're talking about either.
All right, you learn sign language
Yeah.
so you could cheat against. It still makes me. It makes my blood boil.
That doesn't sound
It
like
makes me
us.
so mad.
Drew, you ever cheat at board games?
No, but I've caught my younger siblings and Stan's younger sibling cheating at board games against us before. So I think I like those.
Okay.
So it
maybe
runs in the
Stan's...
Kanata family.
Yeah, Stan's just
When have
asking
I
for
ever
it.
cheated, Drew?
No.
I don't know what you're talking about.
I don't think it was you. I think it was Devin and Nate conspiring against us. I think
That feels right.
If memory serves correctly, they were taking Monopoly money out of the board game box when we were not playing Monopoly, and then bringing said stash to the board game when it was actually time to play Monopoly.
Nice. I respect
That's
it.
really smart.
I respect
That is
it.
smart.
I believe it also happened with the horses in Risk.
Oh,
At one
yep.
point.
That'll do it.
Mm.
Yeah, those horses, they're worth 5 people.
Yeah.
Devious.
Yeah. Listen, it kind of seems like Stan's asking for that.
He's just oblivious,
Yeah,
and
so-
so he's just
asking to be cheated on.
Listen. Just because I don't expect people to cheat doesn't mean that you should.
But I don't know about that.
Yeah. Well, we've got a fun conversation ahead of us, but before we get to that, make sure you follow us on social media. Twitter at Party Observers, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube at Third Party Observers.
Shameless plug.
And maybe also on TikTok, which is not in the show doc, but apparently we have now.
Yeah.
We have
Stan, talk about our TikTok.
we got
Yeah.
4 whole videos, guys.
Dude, how many followers? Or no, don't say that. It's probably embarrassing.
Well,
But
we just
made-
started it literally yesterday.
Yeah.
Literally
Well, and by
yesterday.
we, you mean you.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's doing so good.
Nice.
So good. All the good. We've got 500 views on 2 videos already.
That's-
We're trending upwards.
That's big for us. Probably real small
Big
fish
news.
for a lot of people.
Small potatoes for a lot, big potatoes for us.
Yeah. Well, speaking of big potatoes, what was it like growing up next to the Kanadas?
Smooth transition.
That was the best segue I've ever heard. Man.
Thank you. I'm a seasoned podcaster.
Yeah, man. I don't have one smooth sentence for that, but it was it never boring. That's for sure.
That's a good description, I think.
I
Never
think
boring.
My family moved in next door to the Kanadas. Maybe how long did you guys live there? Like a year when we moved
Yeah,
in?
not too long. We'd been there a
It was like
year,
fifth,
year and a half.
Sixth grade.
Yeah.
Something
Well,
like that?
okay,
Yeah.
so I moved to Shawnee 6th grade.
Okay.
And then I don't know how long we were there before we bought that property. It wasn't too long.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was pretty young. 6th, 7th grade, somewhere in there.
Yeah, we moved in next door to each other late middle school, early high school. I remember that as kind of the general time frame.
Yeah.
And it was really cool because Stan was in the youth group, but he also had a pool and a trampoline.
Oh,
So that was
a house to hang
spot
out
to
at.
go.
Man.
Wait. The structure of that sentence was Stan was really cool. He was in the youth group, but he also had a pool and a trampoline.
Yeah.
So just to dissect that a little bit, which part made him
I don't
cool?
want to say I used Stan,
Oh, I feel
but there
you.
may have been an element of that.
Yeah.
We lived on that trampoline.
We did.
And
Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, did you put the trampoline by the pool?
Yes.
Yeah.
On
that's
numerous occasions.
And
Okay.
my
I
dad
think
yelled
at
at
one
us
point-
every time.
Yep. So you guys had like a little. I remember a pump house next to your pool. That kind of functioned out there, and we would try to jump off the pump house to the trampoline
Yes.
into the pool
Yes.
without breaking bones or
Yes.
getting concussions.
Did you
Most of
succeed?
the time successfully.
Yeah.
Did you ever fail?
Yeah.
Like, and get concussed or whatever?
Me or Drew didn't.
I say it feels like a scenario where a younger brother
Yeah.
would always end up hurt.
On a separate occasion, I do believe that Devin broke his arm.
Yeah, you did.
Am I remembering that correctly?
You are. Yeah. He missed some kind of jump on the trampoline. Feet were wet coming out of the pool or something. And you guys know the big metal kind of rim that goes around the trampoline,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
in between. You got the rim and the springs, and then like the actual mesh.
Uh-huh.
Devin slipped and went, forearm first right down onto that metal rim and
Oof.
shattered
Yeah,
his forearm.
yeah.
So
Oof, yeah.
that was a good time.
Trampolines.
If I remember correctly, that trampoline is still in my parents' backyard after your parents.
Is it
moved out of
really?
that property. It is.
Wow.
I was there for
That's
Thanksgiving or
fantastic.
a holiday recently, and it was still there.
It
Dude.
can't
Oh, I'm
still
not
be
getting on that
functional. I mean,
Trampoline-
It's still
are-
functional.
They're forever.
well, I can tell you what, the trampoline that I had did not last forever because maybe we just put too many people on it at a time, but it was constantly shredding springs and
Yeah.
getting holes in it because we'd put some fat people on it. And
But that ones are the best because they can bounce you higher.
yeah. Well, when they would step on and then the springs would go, they didn't like that one as much. But yeah, I don't know. Yeah. Well, that's impressive.
Good times.
Well, what else you got? I mean, so you lived in Shawnee. Now, Stan, you guys had goats and stuff, right? Goats and chickens and
We had
other
an
animals that you
assortment-
murdered.
Yeah, an assortment of murderable animals.
Yeah.
Yes, we had goats. We had
Yeah.
chickens. we
Murderable
had-
animals.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I guess those
Well,
are the
'cause
only
there's
ones
some
that we
animals
actually.
that aren't murderable.
Yeah,
Okay.
like dogs and cats.
Yeah.
John, you should take notes.
False.
You're not supposed
Every
to eat your
animal.
dog.
Okay, listen. I clearly said I have not eaten her. For all I know, she is at my mom's house living her best life. Now, have I checked in on her in the past month? No.
So she may or may not be missing a leg.
Yeah.
Yeah, who knows? But not from me.
So, Drew, did you ever witness any animals being slaughtered at the Kanata house? Or did you have to participate?
Oh,
Okay.
that'd be brutal.
So I don't really want to answer this. So coming into the night, I had 3 Stan Kanata stories.
Okay.
One of them is a New Year's story.
Ooh.
One of them is watching Stan knock somebody out story, and one of them involves a possum.
Ooh,
So the
okay.
possum story
What if they're all
was not.
connected?
They're not. I like the way your brain works, John. So yeah, we definitely had a night with a possum one time. I believe we found it
dirty.
in the yard. As, we were coming home from probably like the now or like Wednesday night Bible study.
Yeah,
And
it
there
was.
a possum.
I do
and
remember being sleep deprived.
We tried to kill it with a baseball bat because there's chickens on the farm.
Wait,
Possums kill chickens. You
Wait,
take down the predator.
you tried to kill it or you killed it?
Yeah.
No,
So
we were not successful.
We attempted to kill it. And then, okay, all right, hold on with me just a second. Just
Oh no, this
take a
is
breather.
not.
PETA's coming after us for sure.
Go check
Are
out
you
Drew's new
familiar
EP.
Yeah. if you're familiar with the term playing possum,
Yeah.
they act like they're dead long before they're dead.
Yes.
Yeah, they're famous
So-
for it.
We hit it a couple times, thought that the thing was over. We had protected the flock of chickens, the Kanata's, income and the eggs and the chickens. It was all safe.
Yeah.
We had done our job. And then we were probably playing like Need for Speed or something in your living room and heard crazy hissing and screaming from your porch. And we went back out there, and the possum had drug its half mutilated
Mangled body.
Well, and the worst,
of the patio.
yeah, the worst part about all of this is that we found out after the fact that it was a mom and it
was
had
it
babies.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you just went to town on
I
those
wasn't going to
babies.
bring that
Yeah.
up, but thanks for the
Good job,
reminder.
Stan.
Sorry,
Well,
the possum's
all right.
out of the bag.
So,
So
what you're really saying, you guys just murdered a whole family.
it was an accident.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now,
I
okay.
mean, how is an accident beating something senseless with a baseball bat?
I was not the one with the baseball bat.
Was
Let's
that
clear
Drew?
that up. Who was the one with the baseball bat?
Are you guys serial
I
killers?
believe. So I had a broom. You had a BB rifle, I believe, and I think it was your dad, Mr. One Mike Kanata Esquire, with the baseball bat.
I thought it was my brother-in-law with the baseball bat.
It might have been Johnny.
Yeah.
I don't know. I thought your dad was out there with us, but that might have been a separate
I don't
occasion.
remember. It was so long ago.
Wow.
There were numerous varmints on that property that got
Oh,
fixed.
Okay,
Sure.
that's enough of that story.
Well, one suggestion. Next time you tell that story, lead with we were defending the chickens
Yeah.
aspect
Yeah,
and
yeah.
not fill that in at the very end.
Side note, chickens.
Because
We
otherwise
did
it
have a
sounds like
good
you
reason.
sought out a possum on your land. And it was like, you guys bored? I'm a little bored.
No, it was not because we were bored.
Listen, I grew up on a farm with
Yeah.
chickens, so I understand. Like possums are a menace. Yeah.
Menace.
Man.
Killed many of possum in my life.
Can you expound more? I don't remember knocking anybody out. What is
Okay,
this?
so do you remember? I think we were probably sophomores or juniors in high school, and we were both playing
Okay.
basketball at Liberty, which
Yeah.
was the local Christian school.
Yeah.
Were you attending there at that time, or were you doing the adjunct or the?
I started my
go to school.
I think freshman year. So yeah.
Okay, so you were attending the school at that time. I
Yeah.
don't think I was
Yeah.
because I only went freshman year.
Yeah.
So we played basketball at this local Christian private academy thing. Stan attended. I was a homeschool kid that had some kind of exception to play on the basketball team because that's Oklahoma for you.
Yeah.
But you were not allowed to practice basketball during the off season, but you could still go and do conditioning drills and such. So real athletes like Stan played soccer,
Yeah, I'm a real
and
athlete.
fake athletes like myself went to PE class so that I could continue to play on the basketball team. So we had a kid in our youth group that loves to talk shit to Stan.
So he deserved
and,
it. All right, I'm on board.
Jake.
His name is Weston.
Oh,
Uh,
yeah, listen.
Are there
Yeah.
multiple
Is there
people?
multiple kids that talk shit to
Dan,
you?
were you?
Stan?
Dan, were you bullied?
No. Here's the thing. Stan has always been an alpha. He's always been the most athletically gifted person, at least
Clearly.
when I've known him. Yeah.
I've gained a few
So
pounds.
I just remember one day we were in off-season conditioning and we were playing a game that was, I think, kind of unique to the school that we were playing at the time, where you have two giant medicine balls and a couple different dodgeballs, and people with the medicine balls could just wreck anybody that was not medicine balls. I'm sorry. What's the exercise balls, like the big inflatable ones?
The big one.
I
Yeah.
was definitely thinking you guys were playing dodgeball with medicine balls.
No.
I was like,
I
how many
misspoke.
murders happened
Yeah.
at this school?
Not only possums, but people.
Yeah. So, long story short, for the sake of timeliness on the podcast, this kid had been talking to shit to Stan all week, and he's a good kid, but just run his mouth to the wrong person. We're playing this game, and he decides he's going to jump on Stan's back and trying to choke him unconscious.
Oh,
I
And
remember
I
this.
remember
Yeah.
Stan with one hand reaches behind himself, grabs the kid by his long mullet hair, flips him over his shoulder, slams him onto the gym floor, and the kid is just knocked the fuck.
Ladies and gentlemen, there it is. We've done it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then we had to go to Bible study with him like 48 hours later. It's great.
So far, I'm picking up that Stan was a little bit of a violent kid.
Yeah, that's
Listen,
the vibe I'm picking
I was
up.
defending myself. I reacted to
In
what he
both
did to me.
situations.
You
Yeah.
really
In both
mellowed out.
situations,
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
seems.
Thank
Although
you. I'm
you're
pretty chill now.
you're suspiciously really into guns, so maybe
And he
maybe
has-
you've
I don't know what
just
you're
gotten
talking
more
about.
sophisticated.
He has mentioned.
Let's
he,
not go there.
We
are not
have
implying that I'm a
established
mass
that he
murderer.
would be the most likely to murder anybody out of this podcast.
Yeah, he
Listen,
admitted
every
it
time-
himself.
He's admitted it.
Every time that we've had this discussion, it was in the context of self-defense, which clearly this was self-defense as well. That's all I'm saying.
It was. Yep.
I'm not going to go on a murdering rampage. Thank you very much. What is this turned into?
What?
Sorry for putting you in the hot seat, Stan.
Oh,
You
no,
know.
I completely forgot about
We
that.
love it.
Well, we can take one more. Did you say you had one more story on it?
Oh, great.
New
Let
Year's.
me ask you a qualifying question.
Okay.
Stan, are you currently in a relationship?
Yes.
Okay, then that story can't be
No,
told.
no further questions.
I'm just kidding. It wasn't that bad. That was just for grins and giggles. We just we played what's the reverse of hide and seek called when you play
Sardines.
it?
Sardines.
Yeah.
Sardines. Yeah. A game of sardines on New Year's, and we couldn't find Stan and his high school girlfriend for almost an hour and a half.
Ooh.
It was a
It
good
went
time.
well beyond midnight. Yeah. I think we found you under a couple of hay bales in a barn much after everyone else had been found.
Yeah,
Nah, we were just.
you could see the stars.
Yeah.
We were behind the.
They were just hiding.
We were really good at
A
hiding.
little
Yeah.
disheveled.
We were so good at hiding. I don't know. My hair was so short it couldn't get disheveled. So
Okay.
I mean,
Yeah.
lost all the clothes, just covered yourself in
Yeah.
mud, that kind of thing. Really camouflage yourself in there.
It's a bit, guys. It's a bit. I'm not trying to get anybody in trouble.
that's funny.
He'll be all
Just-
right.
You hear
I
that,
don't-
Lindsay?
Sometimes when you're 15, you know?
Yeah,
We've all done
no, we understand.
We've all been kids
Been there
and adults.
done that.
That's right. I've not murdered a possum with a baseball bat, but
Neither have I.
And I've never knocked anybody unconscious either.
so Drew, you now live in Louisville, Kentucky. How
That's
did
correct.
you end up there?
So I moved here in 2012 to study music. I got a scholarship at a school that's out here that had a great little music program, and didn't really love that, but stuck around to finish the degree because by the time I realized I didn't love it, I was 3 years into a degree. And so just kind of stuck around.
Yeah,
We good?
yeah, we're good. Can you see a discussion happening? We are listening, but our Teams chat said that there was 5 minutes left, and I got concerned it was going to cut you off.
Yeah, it's just the scheduled time, so
Oh,
we're good. It'll go
okay.
after that.
Okay.
So,
Gotcha.
sorry, what were you saying, Drew?
No. I moved out here to go to school and then kind of stuck around. Right after college, I went to work in the bourbon industry. So I worked for a couple different liquor companies. I worked for a place up here called Westport Whiskey and Wine,
Yeah.
which is a gigantic single barrel, just collator, I guess. So they source a bunch of different single barrel picks from all the major distilleries and kind of pick a profile that's super unique to that store. So I worked for them as a taster for about 2 years. And
Interesting.
I guess built up a little bit of a reputation. And then after that,
Whew.
I went to work for Old Forester. So I had a good friend who was the master taster for Old Forester.
Wow.
And she is in the middle still 5 years later of transitioning to be the master distiller for all of Brown-Forman.
Dang.
If you're familiar with Brown-Forman,
Wow.
that's the company that owns Woodford Reserve, Jack Daniels, Early Times, Old
shit.
Forester,
That is cool.
some of those things. So my job at the time was to kind of
whiskey
take
all
over
day.
the reins. Well, there's that. Yeah. So I was training to be the next master taster for the Old Forester brand. And that was a really cool opportunity that I had for a little while. There's a variety of reasons why that did not work out, but most of it is because I was on a plane 5 days a week and in a hotel, 5 nights a week,
Oh
and
man.
kind of fell into a little bit of a substance abuse time. And, if you drink 12 hours a day, you got to do something to keep up with that.
Yeah.
And that was a problem for me. So
My
no
goodness.
longer in the liquor industry, although I do now kind of have a better, healthier place for that, have a balance.
Yeah, you've
place
got
for that.
you've got a podcast, right?
Yeah, we do a whole podcast about it. So now, like you said earlier, I sell cell phones by day. I'm an area manager for Verizon, and then I do music and podcasts at night. So that's kind of the life now.
So the podcast, Bourbon Turntables, you guys, I mean that from what I've listened or seen, it's split into talking about bourbon for half of it, and then some kind of music for the last half of it.
Yep, exactly. So the format is kind of based off of the old school LP format. If you guys are into vinyl at all,
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys have the collection, but you got a side A and a side B to every record.
Mhm.
And so our podcast kind of follows that format. We got a side A where we talk about whiskey in some form or another. It's not always bourbon. Most of the time it is, just because all three of us are in Kentucky. And then we've got a side B that we talk some kind of whiskey, some kind of music topic. Mm-hmm. And so that can follow a variety of things. I mean, we've got guest distillers on, guest musicians on. And then most of the time it's three of us, which are all, straight, relatively conservative white men from Kentucky talking about 90s rap or, some other.
Yeah.
It's a really diverse.
It's really the people that you want to talk about hip hop and rap.
Yeah. How did you guys find each other?
So it's actually a really funny story. So when I worked at Westport Whiskey and Wine, doing the single barrel curation job, Kevin Rose is one of the other, co-hosts of the podcast. He is, I'm going to guess he's in his mid 50s. He's a guy that would come in to my shop, my bar every Saturday morning, and he would buy a custom bouquet of flowers at the florist that was next door to my bar.
Oh.
And then he would come in and drink with me until his flowers were ready. And so we met probably 3 years maybe after I moved to Kentucky while I was working the bar on Saturday mornings. And we would watch, Tennessee football games and Georgia football games and drink bourbon and just get to know each other.
Cool.
And then
you didn't watch Kentucky football games?
No, we don't talk about Kentucky football here. No. But whenever I finished a little bit of time in rehab, just kind of cleaning out, Kevin and his wife, Cindy, offered me a place to stay for a couple weeks until I could get back right and kind of help me get back on my feet. And, just we're like a completely unflinching, unconditional love support system that I had really never experienced at that point in life. And then, now 5 years out of that, we are, best of friends, and we hang out and drink bourbon a little bit and talk music once a week. And then Ben Eves is his name. He's a buddy of ours that we met through bourbon as well. And so, Ben's probably in his mid 30s. I'm in my mid 20s. Kevin's in his mid 50s. So we kind of all have that different generational approach to music and all that kind of stuff. So that's kind of the impetus or the ethos behind that podcast.
That's cool.
So,
That's real cool.
Yeah. You asked a short question. I gave a long answer, but
we want to hear it. That's awesome. That's awesome.
So, speaking of music and your guys' different interests, well, not the other guys, but yours specifically. How did you first get into music? When did you start playing, and how did you turn it into a career?
Cool. Good question. So, Stan can attest to this, but I have a very, very musical family. Yep. My mom has been a singer and a piano player, kind of her whole life. And so we all kind of took music lessons since we were 4 or 5 years old. Most of the kids in my family started at 4 on the piano and just kind of went from there. And so kind of grew up all playing in the church. We had the youth group band. Stan, do you remember the name of the band that we were in middle school that you played bass in?
Oh yeah, I played bass. Yeah, I was part of the band, guys.
Why
I
has
was
this
part of the-
not
No,
come
I
up
was-
in True Confessions?
Because honestly, I completely forgot.
I would
about
have never believed it.
it.
Stan had a thick ass bass player hat. It was like the old like flat, flat top and like long bill thing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh.
it
in
looks
the
so
early
stupid.
2000s.
It
I
looks
thought
so
he was gonna.
dumb.
I pictured him in a fedora.
I could also
It
see
wasn't
that.
that
No,
bad.
what was the name of that band,
What was-
Drew?
It started with an A, and that's all I really remember.
A.
Because we got in trouble
Yes, that's-
because our parents did not want us to have a MySpace profile.
Oh my
Um,
Oh man, if they only knew
Yeah,
what
yeah,
Stan
if
was
they
up
could
to
see
now.
him now.
Oh man, I got all the social media.
Um,
Did you guys?
Anyway,
do you remember any songs
we-
from that time?
we had a
period?
band. I think we played the Switchfoot song "Meant to Live."
Yep. Yep.
We played a couple of different praise and worship gigs for like See You at the Pole and maybe a youth group gig or two here and there, but nothing
was
super exciting.
Mostly out of the garage.
Yeah, yeah, Garage Band.
Yeah, exactly.
That's how all good bands
That's how
start.
that started, and that's how ours ended too.
Yeah, exactly.
It was a good time though.
After our record-breaking success as a garage band,
Yeah.
I played, all in church throughout growing up years. And then in high school, I dated a girl that was really connected to the rodeo Opry there in Oklahoma.
Was that
And
Hannah?
Kind of fun. Yeah,
Yeah.
Hannah Armitage.
Yeah, I remember Hannah.
Broke my heart,
Yeah.
But,
She broke your heart, and I broke her phone. So.
Even.
No, she
Again, more
okay,
violence.
Okay. No, it wasn't violence.
you tell the story. It's fine.
I fixed people's phone screens
Sure, it sounds
Yeah.
like it.
in high school.
Sounds like you had a really good
I
supply.
had successfully done mine, and I had successfully done a few others. And when I went to do Hannah's, I would just charge parts for it. I wouldn't charge labor or anything. I was just kind of doing it so they could save money. And I went to pull her phone apart, and when I pulled it apart, I pulled it a little too hard, and one of the little ribbon cables broke, and her phone was fried forever. So instead of fixing the phone, I had to give her one of my. Well, I didn't have a spare phone. I had an old, ratty, nasty phone that she could use in the interim, and then she had to buy a new phone.
That's the risk
That
you
was
take.
the end of Stan's phone fixing
Oh,
business.
that was the last one I did. Yeah, for sure, for sure. But Drew, I got your back. I broke her phone after she broke your heart.
Right.
So
Appreciate it, buddy. Thank you. Always looking out. So anyway, to circle back to your question, so through that whole time, I kind of fell in love with country music and learned kind of how to play honky tonk bars and all that kind of thing. And then whenever I moved to Kentucky, completely fell in love with that world and played, a couple different bands out here through college, and just kind of fell in love with that whole world. And so at some point along the way, probably, again, late middle school, early high school, I picked up a guitar, probably to impress some girl, and added a guitar to the repertoire at some point. And then, my whole point in coming out here was to study music, to become a music pastor.
Yeah.
I was going to be kind of involved in the church, and that was kind of the path ahead of me. Just in the sake of full transparency, some of that was legitimate want to, and some of that was just the way that we were raised, and just kind of some expectations that were put on me, I think. And I fully bought into. I mean, I'm not trying to deny any kind of agency or anything like that, but you kind of do what's expected of you at a certain point.
Right, for sure.
And at a certain point, that was no longer tenable. It was not something that I could, in good conscience, stick with. And I wouldn't have been qualified to do that by most of the standards that most churches set for that. And just with my own issues with addiction, I've been divorced. I've had a lot of doubts and struggles in my faith and all that kind of stuff. And just kind of decided to shelve that for a time and focus on being clean, staying off drugs and getting better and kind of healing from all those other things. And then about a year and a half ago, I was invited to play in a challenge here at a bar that we're doing a local songwriting competition. So there was a few of us that for 3 months we had to show up at the bar every Thursday night with a new song, and it had to be completely from scratch.
One a week. That's crazy.
One a week, which is a lot. And so
Yeah.
what was really fun is we were all given a specific prompt. You were given a 2-word prompt and whatever you wanted to write that week.
Wow.
So they would give us just 2 words, and you had to come back the next week with a prompt, with a song. So that was kind of the reigniting of my love for songwriting. I've been writing songs since I was, in high school. We, sang some of them at the church that Stan and I grew up in and that kind of thing. And I just kind of given up on that being a part of my life. And then this challenge kind of reignited that in me and brought that all back up together. And then when that was done, those 12 weeks were up, I was like, well, I have a lot of unprocessed shit in my life. And maybe I should write some songs as therapy instead. Yeah. And so that's what we decided to do. And long story short, made a couple of connections with a label out in Nashville and some friends here locally. And felt like, out of the songs that I had written that I liked, there was a few of those that were worth putting some money into, and there was a label that felt the same way. And a few months later, we had Tower Songs. Yeah. So we went to Nashville and recorded that, and got to bring up some good friends of mine. Stan, do you remember my buddy Evan Sams from up here? He was
Evan. The name doesn't sound super familiar. Where's he from?
He's from middle of nowhere, Tennessee, like the border of Tennessee and Virginia. But he was part of the week that you spent up here.
Oh, cool.
He was the only guy from Kentucky.
Yeah.
And so, he got to come up and play electric guitar. I had a good friend of mine that's part of my journey in recovery come up and play drums. I had a great producer that's, a longtime friend. So anyway, a lot of really amazing people got to be involved in that. And it was really kind of a redemption moment for me, where it felt like all the bad choices and all of the dead dreams, I guess, at the risk of being dramatic, and just kind of the forfeiture of everything that I thought that I'd moved out here for and was going after, that it all failed and it all died. Making this EP and putting this project together was sort of the completion of that, and saying, okay, some of these things are still there, and kind of reignited some of that in me. So, it's a really important project to me. It's been really cool to kind of witness what's going on here.
Yeah, no, that's really cool. And just so you know, we were talking over dinner tonight. My girlfriend Lindsay said that "Angel" was her favorite song of your whole album.
Oh, cool.
And I really enjoyed it too. I've been listening to it on and off. I've listened to the whole thing several times through, and I've really enjoyed it. And it's cool because not only do I think like it's actually a really good album, and I enjoy that type of music, but it's like, I know Drew.
That guy. Yeah.
This is cool. So it's been really fun to kind of like play that around the house, and when I'm like driving to work or whatever, and be like, I know that guy.
So speaking of,
thanks for listening,
Angel. I mean, that was your single from the EP, right?
Yep.
So how do you decide as a musician what song to release as a single, from the album?
So that's a really good question. There's a couple of different answers to that. So there is a label that's involved in this project, and they get a say on what they think will be the most popular.
Yeah.
And they picked Angel out of the rough mixes that we sent them from the studio, and they were right. That was the one
cool
that got radio play. That was the one that got put on Spotify. That's like, that was it. So there's an element of that. But I think the other thing is too, Angel was the most kind of vulnerable and real moment of that. I would hope that all the songs that are on this project have some element of vulnerability, but Angel was written like 3 or 4 weeks after a breakup for me. And it was the first relationship that I'd been in after my divorce. And I was really like clinging to this person for my sobriety and wanting all this input for moral guidance and all that kind of stuff. And that song kind of came out of me at a time when it was just really raw and really nasty and really dirty for me. And I think a lot of people, maybe for better or for worse, taking into account the human experience, can really connect with that. And so, yes, the label said that's the way. But then that was also the song, like, if I have to look back at the whole project, out of the 10 or 12 songs that we had going into it, to the 6 songs that we recorded, to the one song that was like, okay, this one's going to be legitimate. That was it. Yeah. And so when they said, hey, we think this should be your single, I said, yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah. That's cool. So what is that writing process from, start to finish? And then when it comes down to, all right, you've written 12 songs for an album. How do you narrow those down? Do you want the entire album to tell a story, or does each song kind of stand on its own?
Oh man, good question. So a lot of that, just frankly, has to do with money. And there was a limited budget for this project. And I was only given a certain dollar amount. And so my options were, okay, let's get a suboptimal studio and a decent producer, and let's put them all out. Or let's get a great studio and a really great producer, which, was a friend of mine, and he was who I was going to use regardless. Yeah. But, and then let's put that money into really turning this into the best thing that it can be. And so, really what it came down to was, okay, if we have a week and a certain budget, what can we put out that's actually going to be something we can be proud of? Not something that we did a bunch of, half-assed iPhone, voice memo demos for.
Are you shooting a music video?
Yeah, no.
Well, for reference, our entire podcast is shot on an iPhone, so
yeah,
works pretty well.
Great.
My phone has 6 cameras on it, so I really feel like you can probably do whatever you want on a phone now, and it'll turn out great.
You're probably correct. But anyway, to answer your question, so we kind of boiled down. We sat in a room for a couple of days, myself and my producer and engineer, and we said, okay, I like this song, but it's not there yet. And this one doesn't represent where you are anymore. This is a moment in time. So we kind of eliminated a few, and we said, okay, these are the 6 that would show a strong showing for any record label that was serious about putting in money for another project. Yeah. But this is also the most human and the most kind of universally acceptable ones. Yeah. So everybody's been in a relationship that they realized wasn't going to work, but they weren't ready to give it up. And that's kind of for now. Everybody's been nostalgic for a relationship or a friendship that you shouldn't be in anymore, but you just really still want it. And that was Memory Burn. And so each of the songs, I won't bore you and go through them all 6, but my hope was that in choosing those particular songs, everybody that was listening to them could remember a time that was like, yeah, that was me. I know that person.
Yeah. They definitely are relatable. That's for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, that was kind of the process of choosing those songs. And so I hope they tell a story through and through, and that was the reason why I chose to end with the song Wait. If you guys have listened to it, that's kind of where I'm at now in my own personal journey of, I don't know if there's a religious solution to this. I don't know if it means taking a bunch of mushrooms and going to the desert. I don't know what solutions look like, but I don't have to know. And I don't have to hold on to control. And so just kind of looking for whatever is going to free and let some kind of lightness be present.
Yeah, and I think
is what I'm looking for.
Yeah, that's just a big part of life, is figuring out how to, okay, well, what are the things that I can control? What are the things that I cannot control? And you have to come to terms with the fact that, okay, there's a lot of stuff that I really can't control.
Right.
And that's okay, And so it is cool to see that journey, and you kind of walked through that in your songs. But that's definitely a point of something that I can relate with, because like that control is something that is hard to come to terms with, the fact that you don't necessarily have control over everything in your life, and you have to be able to be flexible and adapt to what's happening right now. Yeah, and I really hear that, and I don't mean to sidetrack the podcast in any way, shape, or form, but I think both of us...
Yeah, we're very structured here, so would hate for that to happen.
Totally. But Stan, you and I think both grew up in families where expectations of a certain standard of,
Yeah.
performance and acceptability and piety and all those other kind of buzzwords were present. And so kind of finding your own identity as an adult that is maybe resonant with some of those things and maybe separate with some of those things, but being able to stand and say, okay, well, here's what I found. That I don't get to control this.
Yeah.
I want certain things. But I think that was maybe the most like resonant thing for me, that was just like, oh, so this has been going on since I was like 6 years old. And I think for anybody that was raised in like the church that we were raised in and in the context that we were raised in, hopefully we'll find some kind of something in.
Yeah, and I think that as far as that all goes, I feel like we're getting to the age, we're so old. We're at like 25, 26, 27 years old. We're how old are you guys?
20,
28, 29,
28.
No, 28, 27.
26. Drew, are you 25?
I'm 26.
Man, we
September,
almost
huh?
ran the whole
gambit.
Anyway,
You're
like-
March 20th.
Yeah. You're September
4th.
7th.
9th.
Fine. You're correct.
Yeah.
I was so close. Don't
I was
even
also
know
close.
Okay, but I have an out because Stan's birthday was our other best friend's birthday and my mom's birthday.
Yeah.
Oh,
I share a birthday with an uncommonly strange amount of people. It's weird. But yeah,
you know what that means? Is a bunch of people were getting it on the 4th of July. That's like birthday you do.
Celebrate
America,
Baby.
freedom.
I do what I want. Oh, that's
Sorry, go ahead, Stan.
No, you're
Go
fine.
ahead.
You're fine. No, I was just saying we're kind of. I feel like I'm at least getting to the age and getting to the point where I'm realizing a lot of this stuff, and it's not a bad thing to come to the conclusion that, hey, I don't really know everything that's going on in the world right now. I don't have to know what's going on in the world right now. I just have to worry about myself and be okay with who I am as a person. And once you can come to terms with that, then you can kind of contribute to like where you are in your workplace, in society, and whatever that looks like for you. But you have to make those decisions and conclusions about yourself before you can really like be or have a definition of like what you believe or whatever.
Yeah. First, you got to find yourself, and then you got to figure out what NFTs are. And
then you've got it made.
And then you're good.
So
that is the end of being an adult.
And this podcast will not help you at all.
Yeah. Well, so Drew, you mentioned that you got into the honky tonk country scene, and you're a singer songwriter. But what artists poster did you have on your wall as a kid? I mean, who were you jamming to as a
Lord.
middle school kid?
Was it
high school
Backstreet
kid?
Boys?
It was not Backstreet Boys because I was not committed to listen to the Backstreet Boys.
Hey, I feel you. Hey, my mom was just as strict. It was like my mom listened. Like she was like, "We're listening to talk radio or Christian music," and I chose not to have the radio on.
All right. So let me throw out 4 names to you guys and see if any of these check out for you. So you got Jump 5.
Nope.
From the Radio Disney Christian pop circuit.
Yep, never heard of them.
You got Skillet
Okay.
from like the K-Love days.
Monster.
Yep. You've got Toby Mac from like the Christian
Yep.
hip hop alternative.
Did you know he's
And
still
then
a
you
thing?
Yeah, he's,
Like
he's-
I was
is
like,
still a thing.
what the hell? Like, is this guy still?
Is he writing new songs?
I have no idea, but I heard I saw a poster. I think he was supposed to be doing something in Tulsa, and I was like,
he's probably at the BOK. It's probably Winter Jam.
I was just like, what the hell?
All right, Drew. Toby Mac. Who else?
Freaking, then the other one was either like it's like Switchfoot Reliant K.
Yeah.
Oh,
Like those
Reliant K.
K. They were
I
good.
am convinced one of the best albums ever made is by Reliant
That's
K.
good. Yeah, it's a good one.
Okay, so 2 years ago they came to Louisville and they played it at like the dirtiest, nastiest punk club.
Yeah.
And it was like all of us like ex-Christian kids, and we were like in our ripped black jeans and like t-shirts.
Well-
We were jamming out, man.
That's awesome.
Did you
Fire.
see in October in Vegas? There's going to be was it Wish You Were
When
Young?
We Were Young.
When We Were Young.
When
yeah.
We Were Young.
That's got like Avril Lavigne, Paramore,
Like all the bands we
My
listened to as
Chemical
kids.
Romance,
Yeah.
maybe, and but Reliant K is in that mix as
Yeah,
well. So is
they
Red
are.
Jumpsuit Apparatus.
I may or may not already have my tickets.
What?
Nice.
And I want to just point out for the pod here that my boy Stan had a long-term love affair with both the Fray and Lifehouse during that time.
True.
We were all into Paramore and Chemical Romance. Stan was on the Lifehouse and the Fray kid.
Yeah.
How to Save a
Yeah.
Life.
Where did he go wrong?
biggest
You
one.
know? Yeah.
Sorry,
Well-
we're devolving.
No, that's all right.
Oh, I love
So, I mean, where do you draw inspiration now for music? What are you listening to now?
Same stuff?
Great question. So
A lot of Toby Mac.
Yeah,
It's now Jump
I'm
6.
really into Caleb, guys. Really into Caleb. Anybody right now that is doing kind of in red dirt country thing,
Mhm.
I still kind of fall into those themes just because that was kind of my first love outside of the Christian music that I was allowed to listen to growing up. And I mean that in all authenticity. So people like Jason Isbell and Zach Bryan and Howard Childers.
Is Zach
I'm
Bryan?
actually going to go see.
Sorry, is Zach Bryan? Is he one of the ones you were talking about? Your most recent podcast that's from Stillwater.
Yes.
Huh.
So you guys would love him if you're super into him, or if you're, into red dirt country. I feel like you would get super into him. He's incredible. He's actually on tour with Willie Nelson and Turnpike Troubadours right now. So
Cool.
he's a
That's
legit
pretty
dude.
cool.
That's a big
Good for
deal.
him.
Yeah.
Yeah, good for him.
Yeah. So
Bet
those
he's smoking
guys,
a lot of weed.
yes, definitely some of that. I'm actually going to go see Jason Isbell tomorrow night here in Louisville.
nice.
So I'm excited.
That's awesome.
Okay.
That is one of producer Amy's favorite bands.
You guys got to go see him if you haven't already. He puts on an incredible show. Other artists that I'm kind of drawing from are it's hard to answer this question and not sound like I'm making records and making songs that are derivative of these people.
Yeah.
So I want to be careful with that. But somebody like Rustin Kelly, if you're familiar with him at all, he's the ex-husband of Casey Musgraves, country music darling.
Yeah.
But he has walked through a lot of the same things that I've walked through. So he was raised religious. He was sexually abused as a child. He was divorced at an early age. And then he did a bunch of psychedelic drugs, and now he writes country records. And I was like, oh, this is my guy.
It's the life of every country star, right?
I'm right there on all of this. But no, he's one that I really love. Bonner Black is another artist out of Tennessee that I love. So just any of those people that are kind of in that red dirt country or dirt emo scene, I really love, and I've been fortunate enough to meet with a lot of them and write with a lot of them. I'm just kind of seeing what checks out. So I don't know how familiar you guys are with the industry at all, but a lot of these songs are written in a Zoom session. And so we'll just hop on with a couple of guitars and a piano and we'll say, okay, what ideas do you have? And it's Tuesday at 10 a.m.
Yeah.
And then we'll just say, all right.
So
let's
that just now because of the current, COVID and everything, or was that happening before?
So from my experience, that's happening just because of COVID. And so twice a week, I have a Zoom session on Thursdays with a group of people from Canada. And then on Tuesday, I have a Zoom session with a group of people in Texas. And so you get together and you say, okay, here's what we worked on last week. And here's the ideas that we have this week. And, we just kind of work on each other's songs and figure it out from there. But I don't know if that answers your question or not, but yeah, it's definitely a newer thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
So does song creation typically start with the lyrics or with the melody?
Completely dependent on the person. We have a lot of people here in Louisville that are just melody people. We have a lot of people here that are just lyric people. It really just depends on who's involved in the session. My preference for me is to take lyrics and then say, okay, let's figure out a melody, because I can do the math of a chord progression and a melody and all that kind of stuff a lot easier than I can write your experience. That's way easier to do, is to figure out the music theory of it. But I would say it just really depends on the person, because some people will come in with a melody and a chord progression, all that kind of stuff that means the world to them, but they don't know the lyrics. And then somebody else will hop on the Zoom call like, oh, I have the thing that fits that. So it just depends.
Interesting. How have you guys written for like anybody like famous, or I guess because I mean you're still trying. Are you just like trying to make a career out of this, or is this something that you're just kind of doing on the side?
Yeah, good question. Obviously, I would love to pay my bills doing music. That's unrealistic right now. So right now, I pay my bills by selling cell phones and then getting drunk in dive bars during the But no, I mean, we have gotten the opportunity to work with some bigger names. And most of the way that these labels work is they will option the rights to a particular song. If they like what you're doing, and then they'll present that to the artist. So you'll cut a demo probably on your phone and send it to that label. The label will show it to the artist, and then if they like what they hear, they will option the rights to that song, and you'll get a really tiny check in the hopes that maybe that they will cut that on a record, and then they record that, and then you get a really big check. That has so far not happened for me. I've gotten a couple of really tiny checks. But, most of the people that are at the point where they are such a big name that they are unable to take a break from touring in their life and public stuff and everything like that to write their own music, they're optioning hundreds of songs at a time.
Yeah,
that's
and
crazy.
So, just like we would, look at Spotify to find the song that we like, they are optioning the rights to songs to find a song that they might like, but they are actually going to cut it for a record. And so I've gotten to have a couple of cool lunch meetings and get to play songs for a couple of people. So far that hasn't happened. But the great thing about that is, just from my chair, if 2 or 3 people that are in a label and in a contract and a deal like a song that I wrote and they don't pick it up, then that means that I can pick it up and I'm like, oh, other people like this. This has legs.
Yeah.
I can maybe sell this.
That's exciting.
And so, the song For Now that's on that EP was a great example of that. That was optioned by a couple different people and then never got picked up. But I was like, okay, cool. This has some legs. So, yeah. Again, long answer to a short question.
Yeah.
Sorry, John.
No, we love the long
interesting.
answers.
That's cool.
We know nothing about this. Also, you're doing a lot. We have gotten 0 tiny checks. We have gotten 0 money. So good for you for making at least a little bit of something.
Yeah, that's cool. Well, and I think with anything, whether it be like podcasting or recording or putting out music, the biggest thing that I've seen is that you have to be consistent with what you're doing. You have to continue putting out content, podcast, music, songs, whatever. And then over time, you're going to build a following and you're gonna build your reputation. But it's not usually something that happens overnight. And there are, like, obviously
Exceptions to the rule.
Yeah, there's exceptions, but for the most part, you have to put out a lot. You have to learn what you're doing. Most of the time, the first thing you put out, I mean, we've talked about the first 3 podcasts that we put out. They sound like horseshit. It's bad. It's real bad. But like as you go, you learn and you figure out, okay, this works, this doesn't work. And it's a process. And as you figure out the process for whatever you're doing, then you can refine that and figure out what works, what doesn't work. and that's really the whole journey of like what we're doing, what you're doing, and it's cool to see the progression of that. And like for me, growing up, knowing you, I've seen you play music. I've seen like you've been able to play piano to me like from an awesome level from ever since I've known you. You picked up a guitar like it was nothing. You can play bass. You can play like every different instrument. And it's just cool to me to see your progression as a person, as an artist, to develop as like everything that we've talked about on this podcast so far, and to see where you've come to up till this point. It's been fun to see your journey. So yeah, all of that to say, yeah, everything you've done is really cool, and I think your album is kind of a culmination of that, and I'm really excited to see what comes next after that too.
I appreciate it, man. Thank you so much.
All right, well, now it's time. We're going to end with a few rapid fire questions. Are you ready for that?
Sure, let's do it.
All right, this is real groundbreaking, heavy stuff. The first question, what is your favorite dinosaur?
Velociraptor for sure.
Yes.
Ooh, okay. All right, you are granted the power to resurrect one celebrity from the dead. Who do you choose?
Stevie Ray Vaughan. I want him to give me guitar lessons.
Oh, yeah.
That's a good one. Yeah.
At first, I thought you said Steve Irwin, and I
Yeah,
was
Steve
like,
Irwin.
wow,
That
Stan
would've
chose
been
that.
Stan would have been really happy.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, producer Amy would have been like, he's not even dead. So,
Conspiracy theories.
all right. What is a skill that you wish you had?
I wish I could ski. I'm terrible at skiing.
I can attest to this.
Water
Like snow
or
skiing or
snow?
water? Yeah.
Or both.
I have given myself probably, let's call it 2, maybe 3 concussions in front of Stan.
Yeah, in
Damn.
one trip. It was pretty bad.
In one trip?
Listen, okay,
Yeah.
I got to tell this story because this is fun. This is real
Is he
fun.
dead? Are we talking to a ghost?
He's
Does he have CTE?
Yeah, for sure.
okay. I remember our senior ski trip. Like this is the big trip that we took all as seniors, and did you snowboard, Drew?
I was attempting to snowboard. I should have skied.
So we all
Yes.
went skiing. Like obviously people are going to pick snowboard, ski, whatever they want. Drew and I were snowboarding, and I remember after a couple of days had gone by, Drew was having a hard time. Drew is not the only one that got a concussion. I think there were 2 other people, Jake and Caleb, that got a concussion as well.
Yeah, Caleb got it worse than me.
Well, because he caught the back edge of
split
his
his
board.
helmet.
Yeah, he split his helmet from the back all the way to the front.
Jesus, man.
And when we took it back to the rental shop, they said, we have never seen this before. This is nuts. It was crazy. But
Was there any supervision on this trip?
they were hanging out in the ski lodge, drinking hot
It
cocoa.
sounds like what's that book where it's about the island where there's a bunch of like a boy.
Island of Misfit Toys.
Is that
No.
Lord of the Flies?
Lord
That's
of
it.
the Flies.
Thank
I never
you,
read
Thank you,
Lord of the
producer
Flies,
Amy.
yeah.
Yeah.
This is what it sounds like. No rules.
Basically,
Everyone is just getting concussed.
If you go to the top of the mountain, you got to find your way down to the bottom by yourself. But I remember getting up there, and Drew was with. It was me, Drew, at least Caleb. I don't remember who else was there, but Caleb was there just like, screw it, come on, Drew, let's go. And you sat down on your snowboards and you rode sled style all the way down the mountain. Oh, it was so great. Oh, that was good. That was good.
Did we lose him?
I
We
think
lost him.
We lost Drew.
Oh, he's trying to come back.
Let's
You
get
gotta-
him back in here. Hang on. How
Can we
do
edit
I
this part out?
admit him? Nah, we'll leave it in.
We just
Admit.
snapped our fingers. Drew has
Thanos.
faded into the.
Drew, are you back?
We lost you
I
in
am
the
back.
snap.
Okay.
There he is. There he is. No, we were just cracking up laughing that you were sledding down the hill on your snowboard.
It sounds like the
That
game
checks out for me.
that they were playing
I
is
was a,
who
I
gets
was a
the
very
least
big
amount of
baby.
concussions.
You were a very big what?
I was a baby. and all that. I was just trying to not die.
Yeah.
I mean, if you've already been concussed 3 times, I think you get a pass from. You can do whatever you want.
Let me ask one question, and this may be a repressed memory, and then we can wrap up or whatever.
Yeah.
Do you remember the house I lived in before we moved in next door to you guys on Market Street?
Yes, with the
what
the
big
play.
fort.
Yeah, the fort.
Yes, we had a 2-story castle.
That thing was dope.
It was awesome.
Yeah.
It had trapdoors and all kinds of shit.
Yeah.
But do you remember your little brother? We were helping my mom with her garden in the zucchinis and the cucumbers and all that kind of stuff. And your little brother swung a shovel backwards too hard and too fast, and he knocked me out and gave me a concussion.
No, what? I do not remember this.
Yeah, that was the first concussion I ever had. I think your mom was taking Heather somewhere, and you and Nate were hanging out with us.
Oh no!
And,
Was there a possum involved?
No. Okay, so
not visibly.
I do have a lot of Drew injury stories. One of which, did your shoulder just enjoy popping out of socket every once in a while?
No. Okay. So we were at Lake Eufaula, and we were on a man journey retreat.
Yeah.
Which is a thing that our youth group did. They would split up the guys and the girls. Sophomore, juniors, and senior guys could go. Sophomore, junior, senior girls could go. And our youth group pastor and his wife both had families that had lake houses, so you would go away for the weekend. There was lots of problems with that, as would later revealed in legal cases and other things. But anyway, so your boy was wakeboarding and was trying to show off.
As you do.
At one point. Yep. And I tried to drop out over a wake on my left side and dropped out, and my shoulder went about 4 inches backwards out of socket.
Yeah.
And I wanted to come back in, and I could not.
No.
So I had to just kind of hold on for 20, 30 seconds, so I came back in.
Yeah.
Was this our junior year of high school?
I think so, because that was later on. Yeah.
I think that was the summer
experience.
in between our sophomore and junior year. Because I remember I could not rebound for shit our entire year without my shoulder dislocated.
Well, I mean that wasn't really that new,
Yeah.
Okay.
He just had an excuse. He had an excuse that year.
Yeah.
Oh, my shoulder.
Right. I was trying to make excuses. Yeah. No, that was definitely a thing that we did.
Yeah. Good times.
Well, Drew, we'll go ahead and wrap this up. I know you've got things to go on and do, but before we do, are you playing anywhere live around the Louisville area, or maybe who knows? Maybe you're touring in California or Oklahoma. We don't know. Where can people go see you?
I would hope so at some point. Yeah. So this coming week, I will be at a bar called High Horse here in Louisville on Sunday night. I will be at a place called 21st Amendment on Wednesday night. And I will be at a place called Off the Rails on Thursday night. So if you're in Louisville and you happen to be a listener of Third Party Observers, come on out. I would love to see you. And then otherwise, just anybody that wants to stream Tower songs, you can do that on Apple Music, Spotify, YouTube, or Amazon Music. Please check those things out. If you want to follow along social media wise, I'm on Drew Crawley 63 on Instagram, and then Drew Crawley 63 on Twitter. So if you want to follow my nice boy music stuff, follow Instagram. If you want to follow me being a sarcastic asshole, feel free to follow along Twitter.
Yes.
And then if you want to listen to the podcast, we're at Bourbon Turntable on whatever platform you might listen to.
Cool.
Yeah,
Cool.
and Stan can link all that stuff.
Yeah, I'll link it all, and we will have all those in the show notes wherever you're listening to our podcast, Spotify, YouTube, all of the places, and we'll be able to see that in the show notes. So
Yep.
All right. Cool.
All right. Well, thanks again, Drew, for listening, and thanks for tuning in. We'll catch you next week.
See you.
Later.